Desperation in Mexico. New images into CNN of a trailer packed with more than 129 migrants, mostly from Guatemala, discovered in southern Mexico. The temperatures there topping 110 degrees this week. And among those making that dangerous journey, 19 children. They were traveling without their parents. And they are just a small part of the migrant surge in Mexico, where many are waiting to cross into the United States. And David Culver has this special report that you will see first here out front.
On the Texas-Mexico border, U.S. law enforcement patrol the tranquil waters of the Rio Grande. The flow of migrants here slowing to a trickle since Title 42 ended in May. On sidewalks in El Paso that last month were covered with migrants, today only a handful camp out. But travel more than 500 miles south into places like Mexico City, and the numbers are rapidly rising. Overwhelming for the Catholic nuns who run this shelter. Sister Maria Silva says at night, every aspect of the shelter floor inside and outside, covered with the thin mattresses you see stacked around us.
En la frontera del centro.
Wow, this Mexico City, which is very far from the border, as she sees it, has now become a border town, but in the center of Mexico.
The migrants here spend their mornings trying to get an appointment with a U.S. asylum officer using the CBP One app. Getting a confirmed date, nearly impossible for some.
You can tell it's crushing her. And I said, so what are you guys going to do? And they said, just wait for the date.
Maria Jose Camacho and her husband, Ender Diaz, from Venezuela, arrived 2 weeks ago in Mexico with their 4-year-old daughter, living here for the past several days.
They feel like after Title 42 expired, that it's now much more difficult to try to cross.
Title 42, the pandemic-era immigration policy, allowed U.S. officials to immediately expel migrants who crossed illegally without processing their claims for asylum. Those same migrants would often try and try again until they got in. Now, Title 8, back in full effect. Sure, it gives migrants the right to claim asylum, but those who fail to qualify risk being banned from entering the U.S. for at least 5 years. The result? Migrants flooding into Mexico, where they then wait to figure out how they can get into the U.S.
And you can see encampments have already taken up most of this little square here. You can see along this street, you've got an art gallery, a nice restaurant, but then just turn the corner here and look down this sidewalk. You can see tents and families who have been set up for days and weeks with nowhere else to go at this point.
We drive an hour outside Mexico City, where a government-run shelter is set up to handle the overflow. Officials tell us most here from Haiti. Makeshift medical stations. This little girl complaining of a sore throat. Her dad says she's not wanted to eat in 5 days. They pass the time doing chores and playing sports. Their cell phones sit in a web of chargers. Battery power fuels their chances of getting an online CBP appointment. Eventually, they move on.
So you can see these folks here are going to be boarding the bus. They're going to go meet with Mexican authorities and get paperwork that allows them asylum in Mexico. Basically, they're trying to buy more time so as to then continue on their journey to get closer to the U.S. southern border, eventually get an appointment with a U.S. asylum officer, and they hope enter the U.S. legally.
Since Title 42 expired, migrant crossings are down, for now at least. We visited Eagle Pass, Texas. Main Street, quiet. But Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez warns what we saw building up in Mexico will push north.
So it's almost a calm. I say calm, there's 800 apprehensions a day just in the Del Rio sector. On the other side, in the Mexico side, it's just building up. The cartel will adapt, and then that will be the next thing that they send over.
U.S. border officials warn as more migrants either fail to qualify for asylum or grow frustrated waiting, they're turning to cartel-controlled smugglers to get across. The congressman proposing a bipartisan approach to counter that.
So I'm of the mindset, stop sending them down that route. Send them another route. Work visas make sense to me. Remove the politics in it. Remove the you have access to vote or have access to social services and say, hey, do you want to have a job? We have a job for you. Link up the two.
Back in Mexico City, we find Maria Jose and their daughter walking a busy commercial street, carrying a sign and candies.
We're a Venezuelan migrant family, and we're asking for your support.
They tell me they're out here 3 hours, twice a day.
O sea, es preferible hacer esto que pedir. O sea,
She was a nurse in Venezuela, and so doing this, resorting to having to sell things, it's different, as she points out, but she'd rather do this than just ask for money. What's really concerning in all of this, Aaron, is you have those Mexican cartel-backed smugglers who see all of this buildup of migrants, as an opportunity. It's potential business for them. Now, we know they've trafficked human beings through trunks of cars, through truck trailers. Now, according to U.S. officials, they've seen recent cases of migrants being smuggled over the Pacific Ocean and in many cases swimming through the Pacific Ocean at night just to get to the U.S. Shows you how increasingly desperate and treacherous these journeys are.
Yeah, well, perfect words. All right, thank you very much for sharing all of that with us, David.